The story begins in a seedy operating theater, where two suspicious surgeons are experimenting on two living people who look perfectly healthy. But they are not fully conscious. The surgeons inject both test subjects with a strange green fluid. As they inject the fluid, everything goes well for a while. But soon, the male test subject starts feeling pain, bleeding from every pore. The surgeons panic. Eventually, whatever the surgeons injected the poor guy with turns out to be too much, and both test subjects die on the spot. One surgeon finally decides to give up his research, realizing that after sacrificing so many people, all he has gotten is one failure after another. He knew from the beginning that this research has no real future. Before leaving, he makes it clear that he will no longer be a part of it. He will not work on this topic again. Dr. Shin appears to be the only person who does not believe his efforts have been in vain. As far as he is concerned, the people he tested were always going to die in a day or two. So it doesn't matter if they died a day earlier, because they have contributed to the betterment of humanity. Shin then instructs his junior to leave the operation theater, as he plans to take care of the bodies himself. The junior doesn't say another word and walks away quietly. Meanwhile, Shin is still adamant on the belief that this research will eventually succeed. He is pretty sure that the only thing stopping it is the lack of proper test subjects. He knows without a doubt that the perfect subject for this experiment is still out there. Now let's talk about the main protagonist of this story. His name is Kang Yu-won, and his friend is Jin Min Hyung. They both work at a funeral home taking care of dead bodies. After wandering around and eating, they decide to go to the hospital to collect dead bodies. After arriving at the hospital, Lee-won shows his business card to the employee at the counter and introduces himself as Kang Yu-won from Han-Wol Funeral Services. He had received a call early in the morning about patients dying. His friend Hyung also joins him after going to the bathroom. Soon they reach the operation theater. The bodies they went there to collect were the same ones that the surgeons were using for their experiments. Hyung confirms after looking carefully that the victims seem to be a father and daughter. The report says that they died in a car accident, but there is one thing that Yi-won doesn't understand. The father's body is in a bad condition, while the girl's body is almost unblemished. Apart from a wound on her hand, there are no signs of any surgery. His friend reminds him that they are not forensic experts, so they should stop worrying about things they shouldn't and focus on collecting the bodies. Yi-won decides to look inside the girl's mouth. While doing so, he accidentally cuts his finger on her broken tooth. Well, the next step is to remove the bodies. As they first begin removing the father's body, Lee-won suddenly notices that the wound on the girl's hand has disappeared. Of course, this shocks him more than anything else. He points out the healed wound to his friend, but before they can discuss it further, Yi-won feels a sharp, stabbing pain that knocks him unconscious. His friend becomes concerned and rushes to support him. Meanwhile, Lee-won's condition worsens. He suddenly feels extreme and unbearable pain that makes him scream loudly. It seems an infection has entered his bloodstream through the cut from the girl's broken tooth. His heart feels like it's about to explode, and his whole body is so hot that he feels like he's being burned alive. He thinks he'll die if this pain continues. Eventually, he passes out, and his worried friend continues to cry like a baby. Meanwhile, the girl starts to move. After a while, Lee-won opens his eyes. He has no idea what's going on. He sees the so-called dead girl banging her head against the door. Naturally, Lee-won panics when he sees the dead girl standing on her feet. As if that's not horrifying enough, he sees his friend's mutilated, blood-soaked corpse on the ground. Lee-won recoils in fear, panic filling his heart and mind. For some reason, his hands are covered in blood, too. He then sees the girl looking at him, and they make eye contact for a moment. But she just turns away and continues patting his creepy head. After staring at his friend's corpse, Lee-won looks down at his blood-soaked hands. The sweet scent of blood in the room is strangely alluring. The strong stench of blood fills his nostrils, spreading over his tongue. The scene before him seems strange and unreal. Suddenly, Lee-won sees his supposedly dead friend moaning. Seeing this, he tries hard to wake him up, but there is no response. His friend seems to be in a deep coma. Lee-won decides to take him with her, believing that he can survive if she gives him the necessary treatment. The entire hospital seems to have turned into ruins. There's blood everywhere and no one is there. We then see an old man crying in the corner, while a girl lies dead nearby. The old man's face is glistening with sweat as his mind is full of stress. He's sure that no one is coming to save them, which means that the world outside this hospital is beyond saving. He curses the person who perpetrated this madness. Suddenly, he sees the secretary hesitating, so he starts running out of the room. He's sure that if he stays, he'll die an inglorious death. Grabbing a golf club, he sneaks out of the room and gets out of the hospital forever. We cut back to the operating room. Yeek-won has put his friend on a stretcher and is ready to take him to treatment, but Yeek-won feels weak and lethargic. His stomach hurts as if his internal organs are twisting. The pain feels like starvation, but that doesn't mean anything. He ate lunch before he came to the hospital, so it hasn't been long since he ate his last meal. However, we all know that the hunger he's feeling isn't for food. It's probably for blood. Still, he steals himself away and starts pushing his friend's stretcher. As he opens the door and walks out, he's confronted by a scared old man holding a golf club. This old man is a boon for Yeek-won. He quickly yells for help, asking the doctor to treat his injured friend. Just then, that head-banging zombie girl walks past Yeek-won and runs straight towards the old man like a hungry and bloodthirsty monster. When the old man backs away in fear, more zombies emerge from the other room and begin eating him. Yeek-won can do nothing but stand there shaking in shock at this horrifying sight. His friend, whom he was trying to save, gets to his feet. He walks toward the other zombies who are happily eating the old man. When he reaches them, he crouches down and sinks his teeth into the old man's head, joining in this horrifying feast. Yeek-won doesn't waste a second and hides behind the wall. He thinks about how his once foolish friend has now become a brainless zombie. For a moment, Yeek-won thinks he must be dreaming, because none of what's happening can be true. He closes his eyes and concentrates, trying to wake up from this nightmare. But no luck, because this is definitely not a dream. He then sees that it's April 29th, even though it should be the 24th. If he's deciphering it correctly, he's been unconscious for a full 5 days. He quickly reaches for his phone and confirms that it is indeed April 29th. His phone is filled with missed calls and unread text messages from his sister, Nuna. In the messages, she expresses concern about his well-being and pleads with him not to go out, begging him to stay alive. Soon his phone dies. While Yeek-won has no idea what's going on, that's not an excuse for him to sit there and do nothing. If he wants to save Nuna and Min-hee, he must leave the hospital at all costs. At some random convenience store, we see a girl crying in a quiet corner of the store. The area outside is filled with brainless zombies who are hungry for blood, so all she can do is pray for a savior to come. We cut back to Yeek-won, who runs down the hospital corridor and then down the stairs. As he's descending, his eyes meet those of the head-banging zombie girl. But eventually, he descends and exits the hospital building. He's exhausted, and hunger is finally getting the better of him. Although he doesn't have time to stop and eat, he can't stop himself, because after being unconscious for several days, it's natural that he's feeling hungry. He's so hungry that he might pass out, so he decides to find food first. As he looks around the area, he sees a convenience store and without thinking, he walks into the empty store. He starts eating a burger and soda like there's no tomorrow. After finishing his meal, he finally feels satisfied. But then he notices something weird about himself. It's weird that he didn't even stop to think if the food he was eating was bad. Also, he usually hated convenience store food, so it was unusual for him to eat it. His eyes suddenly fill up with tears as he remembers his friend, who has now turned into an actual zombie. He remembers how his friend was always curious to know about the existence of zombies, but now the poor guy has become a zombie himself. While Yuan is drowning in the grief of losing his friend, he suddenly hears a noise from a nearby storage room. He cautiously approaches the room and cautiously enters.